Question 1. A sterile processing (SP) technician is restocking wrapped instrument trays on the storage shelves. To ensure proper stock rotation and prevent older packages from degrading over time, how should the technician position the newly sterilized trays relative to the existing inventory? A. Place the newest items at the front of the shelf so they are used first. B. Place the newest items behind or to the right of the older items. C. Discard the older items and place the new items on the center of the shelf. D. Stack the new wrapped trays directly on top of the older wrapped trays. Correct answer B. Knowledge point explanation. Core rationale. Placing new items behind or to the right of older items perfectly executes the first in, first out, FIFO, inventory management principle. This ensures that the items that have been in storage the longest are picked first by clinical staff, strictly preventing items from reaching their expiration dates or degrading on the shelf over long periods. Trap analysis. Option A violates the stock rotation rule by creating a last in, first out scenario, causing older items at the back to expire. Option C is incredibly wasteful and unnecessary since event-related sterility allows older intact packages to be used. Option D introduces a severe physical damage risk. Stacking wrapped trays causes compression that can puncture the sterile barrier. Concept extension, event-related sterility, ERS. Even though FIFO is strictly followed, modern standards dictate that items remain sterile until a specific contaminating event occurs, rather than just passing a calendar date. Question 2. During a routine environmental check, a facility manager notices that the air pressure in the sterile storage room has dropped to a neutral state. To maintain compliance and firmly protect the delicate sterile barrier systems from airborne contaminants originating in the adjacent busy hallways, what type of airflow must be immediately restored? A. Negative air pressure. B. Variable air pressure. C. Positive air pressure. D. Static air pressure. Correct answer C. Knowledge point explanation. Core rationale. The sterile storage area must strictly maintain positive air pressure relative to surrounding corridors and unsterile areas. Positive pressure ensures that when a door is opened, clean, filtered air aggressively pushes outward, completely blocking unfiltered air, dust, and microscopic pathogens from entering the pristine environment. Trap analysis. Option A is strictly reserved for dirty areas like the decontamination room to pull contaminated air inward. Option B and Option D are incorrect engineering terms that do not meet the continuous protective outward flow required by medical ventilation standards. Concept extension, air exchanges per hour. Alongside positive pressure, the ventilation system in this critical zone must legally provide a minimum of 4 air exchanges per hour to continuously purify the environment. Question 3. What is the specific professional term for the medical packaging material that is fundamentally designed to prevent microorganisms from entering the package while simultaneously allowing the contents to be cleanly presented to the sterile field without contamination? A. Disposable transport wrapping. B. Corrugated shipping containment. C. Rigid transit shielding. D. Barrier packaging. Correct answer D. Knowledge point explanation. Core rationale. Barrier packaging is the definitive industry term for materials, like peel pouches, non-woven wraps, and rigid containers, engineered specifically to create an impenetrable microbial barrier post-sterilization. Its dual functional purpose is to preserve complete sterility during prolonged storage and to facilitate an aseptic opening technique in the operating room. Trap analysis. Option A is an overly generic and unscientific term that fails to describe the microbial protection function. Option B is strictly prohibited in sterile storage because corrugated cardboard harbors dust, insects, and fungal spores. Option C is a fabricated distractor that does not reflect standard medical processing terminology. Concept extension, aseptic presentation. This refers to the strict protocol of opening barrier packaging in a way that the sterile item inside never contacts the unsterile outer edges of the wrapper. Question 4. A technician is monitoring the climate in the sterile storage room during a highly humid summer week. To aggressively prevent paper-based packaging materials from softening and to strongly inhibit the growth of environmental mold, the technician must ensure the relative humidity remains at which of the following precise levels? A. Less than 30%. B. Less than 70%. C. Exactly 75%. D. Between 75% and 85%. Correct answer B. Knowledge point explanation. Core rationale. According to strict guidelines from the Association for the Advancement of Medical Instrumentation, AAMI, relative humidity in the sterile storage area must never exceed 70%. Moisture is a primary enemy of sterility. Surpassing this limit softens paper and activates dormant fungal spores, leading to catastrophic compromised loads. Trap analysis. Option A represents an environment that is too dry, which causes static electricity buildup and makes packaging materials dangerously brittle and prone to microscopic cracking. Option C and Option D exceed the legally allowable upper limit, creating a dangerous breeding ground for bacteria and directly destroying seal integrity. Concept extension, wicking. When excessive humidity or direct moisture contacts a sterile pack, it creates a liquid pathway that aggressively draws bacteria from the outside environment directly through the packaging fibers into the sterile interior. Question 5. The specific temperature parameters within the sterile storage area are absolutely critical for preventing heat stress on plastic and paper seal integrity. Which of the following professional organizations establishes the definitive, authoritative standard for these complex ventilation and temperature requirements in healthcare facilities? A. Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA. B. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA. C. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC. D. American National Standards Institute/American Society of Heating, Refrigerating and Air Conditioning Engineers/American Society for Healthcare Engineering, ANSI/ASHRAE/ASH. Correct answer D. Knowledge point explanation. Core rationale. The ANSI/ASHRAE/ASH Standard 170 is the universally recognized and mandated blueprint for all environmental controls in a medical facility, dictating exact numbers for temperature, humidity, and airflow to preserve instrument sterility. Trap analysis. Option A strictly regulates employee physical safety in the workplace, such as chemical exposures and ergonomics, not the engineering standards for room ventilation. Option B strictly regulates the manufacturing and validation claims of medical devices and sterilizers, not the hospital's HVAC system. Option C provides broad infection control guidelines but defers to engineering societies for precise mechanical airflow specifications. Concept extension, temperature limit. Under these specific standards, the sterile storage room temperature must be strictly maintained below 75 degrees Fahrenheit to prevent bacterial proliferation and seal degradation. Question 6. A sterile processing technician is preparing to transport a load of freshly sterilized orthopedic sets to the surgery department using a dedicated delivery cart. To prevent contamination from the floor and wheels during transit, what must be true about the bottom shelf of this transport cart? A. It must be made of open wire mesh to allow proper continuous airflow. B. It must be constructed as a solid surface without any open holes or gaps. C. It must be positioned exactly 2 inches from the floor to lower the center of gravity. D. It must be continuously heated to prevent environmental condensation. Correct answer B. Knowledge point explanation. Core rationale. During the transportation of sterile items, the lowest level of any cart is most vulnerable to dust, dirt, and splashback kicked up by the rolling wheels or foot traffic. Therefore, industry standards mandate that the bottom shelf must be completely solid to act as a physical shield, ensuring the sterile barrier of the packages resting on it remains uncompromised. Trap analysis. Option A is strictly incorrect because open wire mesh on the bottom shelf provides zero protection from floor-level contaminants shooting upward. Option C provides a distance that is far too low. Stationary storage requires 8 to 10 inches of clearance, and a cart mere inches from the ground invites massive contamination. Option D is a fabricated concept that introduces heat stress, which would actually damage the packaging material and promote bacterial growth. Concept extension, solid shelf liner. If a facility only has open wire carts available for transport, a rigid, reusable solid shelf liner can be securely installed on the bottom tier to achieve the same mandatory protective effect. Question 7. Regarding commercially sterilized single-use medical devices stored in the department, which of the following statements strictly dictates when the item must be discarded or removed from the active inventory? A. Exactly 6 months after it is placed on the shelf regardless of its physical condition. B. Immediately after the manufacturer's printed expiration date has passed. C. Only when the exterior barrier packaging exhibits visible physical damage or moisture. D. 30 days after being broken out of its original external corrugated shipping container. Correct answer B. Knowledge point explanation. Core rationale. While in-house sterilized items operate under event-related protocols, commercial single-use items, like sterile sutures or specialized implants, are legally bound by the manufacturer's printed expiration date. Once that specific date has passed, the manufacturer no longer guarantees the product's sterility, material stability, or functional safety. Trap analysis. Option A applies an arbitrary time limit that contradicts modern inventory management rules. Option C incorrectly applies event-related sterility rules to items that have a strict, legally binding expiration date. Even if perfectly intact, an expired commercial item is unsafe. Option D invents a false 30-day timeline related to the breakout process, which is irrelevant to the actual sterile shelf life. Concept extension, breakout process. The act of removing items from dirty corrugated shipping boxes must occur in a separate receiving area to prevent lint and pests from entering the clean storage room, but this action does not alter the expiration date. Question 8. Due to limited space on the sterile storage racks, a new staff member decides to stack several heavy wrapped cardiovascular trays directly on top of one another. The lead sterile processing educator intervenes immediately because this specific physical action primarily causes which of the following severe risks to the sterile barrier? A. It aggressively forces the trays to cool down too rapidly and creates extreme internal condensation. B. It causes the internal chemical indicators to fade prematurely and become completely unreadable. C. It creates severe compression weight that can easily puncture microholes in the non-woven wrappers. D. It drastically alters the mechanical positive air pressure dynamics within the entire storage room. Correct answer C. Knowledge point explanation. Core rationale. Stacking wrapped instrument trays is universally prohibited because the intense, concentrated weight of the heavy metal instruments pressing down creates severe compression. This physical stress easily damages the structural integrity of the sterilization wrap, creating microscopic holes, tears, or abrasions that immediately destroy the microbial barrier and contaminate the sets. Trap analysis. Option A is incorrect because the cooling process must be fully completed before items are even moved to the storage shelf. Stacking dry trays does not magically create condensation. Option B is scientifically false. Physical weight has absolutely no chemical effect on the color-changing ink of an indicator. Option D is a distracting engineering term. While stacking is bad for inventory, it is physically impossible for stacked trays to overcome the room's HVAC system pressure. Concept extension, the bellows effect. When heavy packages compress and then are unstacked, they decompress, literally sucking in surrounding unsterile air through the compromised wrapper fabric, further increasing contamination risk. Question 9. During an annual safety and compliance inspection, the facility's fire marshal heavily evaluates the organization of the top shelves in the sterile storage room. According to strict national safety codes, what is the absolute minimum distance that must be strictly maintained between the highest sterile packages and the ceiling sprinkler heads? A. 8 inches. B. 10 inches. C. 18 inches. D. 36 inches. Correct answer C. Knowledge point explanation. Core Rationale, the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA, mandates a strict 18-inch clearance zone below all active ceiling sprinkler heads. This required space guarantees that, in the event of an emergency, the dispersed water spray pattern is completely unobstructed by boxes or trays, allowing the fire suppression system to function properly. Trap analysis, Option A and Option B represent the standard measurement, 8 to 10 inches, required for the clearance between the lowest shelf and the floor to accommodate proper mopping and cleaning equipment, not the ceiling. Option D is an excessive, fabricated measurement that wastes valuable vertical storage space and is not supported by NFPA regulations. Concept extension, distance from outside walls. In addition to ceiling and floor rules, storage racks must be positioned at least 2 inches away from any exterior walls to ensure proper air circulation and strictly prevent temperature-induced condensation from forming on the barrier packaging. Question 10. When utilizing a dedicated clean lift to safely transport vital sterile surgical instruments vertically between the basement processing department and the third-floor operating room, which of the following protocols must be followed to preserve the sterile barrier during transit? A. The items must be transported individually by hand without the use of a cart to minimize surface contact. B. The items must be fully contained within a closed cart or covered securely with a protective barrier. C. The dedicated clean lift must be temporarily switched to a negative air pressure mode during the entire ride. D. The sterile packages must be lightly sprayed with a high-level chemical disinfectant liquid before loading. Correct answer B. Knowledge point explanation. Core Rationale, even when traveling within a clean dedicated lift dumbwaiter, the sterile environment is highly unpredictable. To decisively prevent airborne contaminants, dust, or accidental contact from breaching the sterilization wraps, all items must be rigorously contained within closed case carts or properly protected inside durable tote bags or cart covers. Trap analysis, Option A is an extremely dangerous practice. Carrying items manually, hugging them, increases the severe risk of dropping them and transfers bacteria directly from the technician's unsterile scrubs to the package. Option C is wrong because negative pressure would suck contaminated air into the lift from the surrounding floors. Clean spaces rely on positive pressure. Option D describes an action that would instantly contaminate and ruin the package by soaking it in liquid, causing massive wicking through the sterile barrier. Concept extension, off-site transport. If items are being moved externally to a separate clinic via truck, the vehicles must have validated climate controls, temperature and humidity, and items must be physically secured in rigid transport bins to prevent shifting and crushing during road travel.